Hi again, I'm Susanna, money mindset coach and EFT tapping practitioner. You can learn more about me and my work at susanna.me. Now, this video is part 2 of the video which was what is money trauma. So just to recap, in part 1 I discussed what money trauma is, where it comes from, and why it's so important to be aware of your triggers around money, particularly if you're wanting to increase your financial success in business, and of course generally in everyday life as well. So having that awareness of money trauma and your actions around money is always the first step. So how do we really then begin to move on from money trauma? If we're at a point in our lives where we're thinking, oh my God, like I know I've got this stuff going on with money, I've got these energetic blocks, I'm getting this emotional activation and reactions around money, and I want to, achieve my financial goals, and I want to do well in my business, and I want to not feel awkward talking about pricing, and I want to be able to chase up invoices. You get to a point where you think, enough is enough. And that leads me really to the first step of kind of healing from this money trauma. There's 7 altogether that I'm going to share with you today. So the first step really is about just being willing and being open. And once you step into that vibration of willingness, it's a really powerful and positive vibration to be in, because you're there holding your hands up like, yeah, I'm ready, I'm willing, and I'm open. It's time now. Enough is enough. I'm willing to explore ideas of how I might heal. So when we talk about willingness in terms of therapy, just thinking, okay, what would I be willing to try? Would I be willing to look into options for self-healing? Would I be willing to learn more about what therapies or counselling services are near me locally? Or if it's something that's really affecting your day-to-day life, if it's, quite embedded trauma, which is complex and chronic and is affecting your mental well-being in the long term, then actually, am I willing to go and see my GP and get some professional support with this? So step 1, be willing and open. And I know that in my case, I got to the stage where I've had loads of therapy over the years. In transparency, I've had counselling and I've had hypnotherapy. I had all different sorts of therapies over the years. And when it came to trauma, I knew that actually I was pretty done with talking therapies. They're amazing and they have their place, and I'm not disrespecting them at all. But I knew that for me, I didn't want to talk about it anymore. I wanted to feel differently, and I wanted to work with how I was feeling in my body. So actually somatic therapy was something that I wanted to explore. And somatic is basically of the body. It's where you're healing through the body, which of course is something that you can do through EFT. So that's step 1, be willing and open. Step 2 is talking to someone you trust. Now, I know it can be really difficult with money stuff because, as I alluded to in the last video, there is so much shame around money trauma. There's so much embarrassment, there's stigma, there's this minimizing of the trauma that goes on, comparing the trauma, mostly from our own judgment, like, oh, it's not bad enough, it's not traumatic enough. But we have to actually admit to ourselves, first of all, yeah, I do have this trauma, and be willing to share that with somebody that we trust. And that's really important. It has to be somebody that we trust. So I think as well with people that are in business, that there's another layer of shame, because there's almost a sense of like, I'm supposed to be a business person, I'm supposed to be an entrepreneur. How can I admit to having these money blocks? How can I admit to this affecting me when I want to show myself as being successful? Or when I've spoken to my friends in the past, I've said that everything's really good and everything's going really well and I'm making sales, and perhaps you are, but you may well still have this emotional reaction to stuff. So it's about finding a friend and saying to them, look, I've got something I really want to talk to you about. Are you in a good space to hold that space for me? I don't want to offload on you, but, I'd really, really like to talk to a trusted friend about something, and just say, hey, look, I've got this thing and it's really affecting my life. It's a trauma around money, and, you can elaborate as much or as little as you like on it, and just say, I thought it'd be really good to talk to somebody about it, maybe get your ideas and opinions on it. Maybe they've experienced something similar themselves. You're not asking them to heal you or therapize you or anything else. You're just literally talking to somebody one-to-one that you trust. So that's step 2, talk to someone that you trust. The next step is find community support. Now this is absolutely core, and you know, there's a quote that I love. I can't remember the name of the lady now. I'll make sure I put it in the notes for you. But it's that we heal not in isolation, but in community, or the other way around. But it's definitely we heal in community, not in isolation. So having other people that have experienced the same or similar things as you can be really validating and really therapeutic in itself. How do you find these places? Well, of course, we have access to the internet, which is amazing. So there's so many different online forums for things like trauma. I know there probably won't be many specific things around money or financial trauma, but do have a little search on Google, and you can also look on Facebook as well if you're on there. Look for groups that offer, you know, just community support for things like trauma or complex PTSD or even money trauma. I have a group on Facebook which is Abundance, Money and Mindset, which you are welcome to join. I'll make sure I pop the link for that in the comments. If you want to join my space, you will be, you know, held and supported in there. But, you know, like I said, it's very validating. It can be really therapeutic in itself, just knowing that you're not alone. And when we come together in this little, you know, shared safe space where we're able to talk about our challenges and our difficulties and our triumphs and our wins, and we see other people sharing theirs and we share ours, you know, that can just really help you to feel like, yeah, I'm not alone, like there are other people going through this and it's okay, it's valid and it is real, and I can get help and support with this. So that's step 3. So be willing, first of all. Step 2, talk to someone. Step 3, find community support. And step 4 is consider how you want to heal. So that might be through going to your GP if you're struggling long term with mental health due to complex trauma. That might be finding a therapist that you see in person or online. And that could be as well self-healing. So the first one, obviously GP, if things are affecting your mental health to the degree that it's affecting your day-to-day enjoyment and fulfillment of life for 2 weeks or longer, because that would point to something like depression, or obviously being perhaps re-traumatized by things that have come up for you in some way. So if you're experiencing any symptoms of PTSD, any flashbacks, any physical symptoms, things like that, please do go and see your general practitioner in the first instance, okay? Because they'll be able to signpost you to people that can help and support you. The second part of that then was about looking for people near you, therapists, counsellors, hypnotherapists, tapping people if you want to do tapping with a practitioner. Find people that can support you face to face in person, or a lot of counsellors and therapists offer online support now as well. So you don't necessarily have to see somebody face to face. And this I know is a big thing for a lot of people, because they want to feel like they're in their own home, and there's a certain amount of safety and calmness that comes with being in your own space when you're working online with somebody. I know that I work with people online doing tapping, and that's always a really positive experience for both myself and for my clients as well. So don't think that you have to go and see somebody. That isn't necessarily the case. And like I said at the beginning, you know, do just be open. You know, maybe if you do get into some of these communities, ask what other people are doing in terms of therapy supports. You know, what are they trying? Are they trying things like Reiki or kinesiology, or and any other kinds of healing modalities like that, hypnotherapy, self-hypnotherapy, all those different things could be really, really useful. And then the final aspect of that then was the self-healing route. And this is if you feel like you have trauma there, but it's manageable trauma, and it's something that you feel able to work through yourself. So of course, if you decide to do this, be really, really mindful of your health and well-being. And if you do at any point during your own self-healing process become re-traumatized by something, then obviously do get support for that, because very often we can't always deal with things on our own. However, if you feel that you can, then I strongly recommend that you just give it a go. And for me, that looked like doing basically 3 or 4 different things every single day. So this is a consistent commitment to self-healing. So that might look like, okay, well, every morning before I start my day, I'm just going to write about how I'm feeling. And every time that I get triggered by money, I'm going to write it down. I'm going to try and explore why that might be. And every morning I'm going to repeat some affirmations to help me to feel more grounded and confident when it comes to money. Or every day I'm going to do some tapping. I'm going to find a tap along video on YouTube about money stuff or about trauma, which will really help me to sort of set myself up for the day. But you can include so many different things. You might want to include meditations in there. There's loads of guided affirmations if you aren't sure, or you don't feel confident about making your own affirmations up. You might want to include some gentle yoga or Pilates in that as well. That's a really lovely healing kind of exercise to do, which involves mind, body and spirit. So many different things that you can do on your own. But choose a few things that you're going to do every day and stick to it, because you are worthy and deserving of making that time and space for yourself. Okay, so that's step 4. Step 5 would be to consider hiring a coach. Now, there is obviously a difference between coaching and therapy. Coaches aren't there to therapize you, and coaches generally don't look back at past life events. They're very much solution focused. So they will help you to move forward, and they'll help you to set manageable goals and find solutions to problems and help you to overcome challenges that you might face along the way. Now, some therapists are also coaches as well. So sometimes you can find somebody that is qualified or certified in both of those things. Where they can work on the healing aspect and on the coaching aspect as well. But just bear in mind that when you are looking for a coach, that they are most coaches are primarily trained just in coaching, but you can, if you want to, work with the same individual on both if they are qualified in both. So coaching, like I said, really help you to move forward, help you to set those manageable goals around money that feel safe for you, help you perhaps with your other things that you want to achieve in your life in terms of your work-life balance, your holistic fulfillment and happiness of life and that kind of thing. So that's number 5, hire a coach. Number 6 is love and care for yourself. Now, this might seem like a really simple thing and perhaps like one of the easiest things, but actually for a lot of people it's one of the most difficult things, and it's something that myself, I know that I've done this, I'll start really well, but then when I'm struggling, I start to sabotage myself, and I start to sabotage my self-care, and I don't look after myself as well. It's self-love and self-care is a consistent habit of looking after yourself as if you would look after a child or a pet or your best friend, and that includes what you're saying to yourself in your head. So this is about talking to yourself in a kinder way, in a more encouraging way. If you get triggered around money, it's not saying, oh God, I'm so stupid, oh why am I like this, oh it's all my fault. It's about saying, hey, it's okay, you're learning and you're going to make mistakes along the way, but it's okay because you always have this capacity to learn new things. Every human being does. Every human being makes mistakes along the way. So a good way of doing this is just thinking like, what if my best friend was in front of me now and they had made this mistake, or they were having these thoughts and feelings coming up? What would I say to them? And say that towards yourself. One thing that can be really helpful is something called self-parenting, and that's not where you talk to yourself like, oh, you're a really naughty person, really naughty boy or girl. It's where you talk to yourself as if you were your own most loving parent. So, really looking after your inner child as much as possible, because the way that I see this trauma is like we almost have like little versions of ourselves in our body, like little echoes of the past, and that's why sometimes we get that very childlike reaction around things. It's because we haven't healed that part of ourselves. They're still in there. That little child who was traumatized by something is still within us, so we need to really love and care for them. So that might be doing things like really exploring playfulness and creativity and finding outlets for your inner child to be a child basically, and do those lovely fun things. And self-care, I know that can be a bit woo-woo sometimes. People think, oh, self-care, I'm just going to have a nice bath and a glass of wine or a cup of tea. But self-care is about a lot more than that. It's about your physical needs, your emotional needs, your spiritual needs, your mental needs, your social needs, all those kind of needs. We need to make sure that we are having good balance in all of those areas. So it's about making sure that we set and attend healthcare appointments, practical stuff, you know, making sure that our car's working so that you can drive to A to B, making sure that our home feels like it's a nice place to be, a calm place to be, free from clutter and rubbish. All these things are self-care, really practical stuff to make you feel like you are worthy and deserving, because you really, really are. Okay, so that's step 6. And then the final step 7, is start small when it comes to the money stuff. Now, I know there's a tendency to think, I'm just going to go all in like a bull in a china shop. I'm going to deal with this money stuff. It's going to be great. And then you start doing something and then you're like, oh my God, it's too much. I'm feeling really emotional. I've overwhelmed myself. I can't do it. And then that puts you off trying again. So we're going to just start really, really small, because you have to remember that if you find money and finances triggering, then that has your basically your nervous system is affected by this. So we want to ease the nervous system in little by little, bit by bit. And I'm going to give you an example of this. I'll just see if I've got an envelope here somewhere. I don't think I have to show you, but so imagine the post comes one day, right? So your mail drops through the letterbox and you see a brown envelope on the mat, and immediately you're thinking, oh my God, what's that about? It's something to do with tax, inland revenue, IRS, wherever you are in the world. Oh my God, I've done something wrong. I'm going to be in trouble. I owe money to somebody. You know, it's all bad, right? We all know those feelings that you get when you see that brown envelope. So if that's you and you find it highly triggering and you're one of these people that just kind of shoves it out the way, hides it on top of the microwave or shoves it in another pile of paperwork, this is where you start to ease your nervous system in very, very gently. So the first step is, okay, I'm going to go to the mat and I'm going to pick the letter up and I'm going to place it on the table. And you can write this down, because we're literally just imagining what we're going to do first of all before we actually do it. So you can just think, okay, I'm going to go over there, pick it up, I'm going to put it down on the table. Imagine it first. If you're feeling a reaction come up, you can just, tapping's amazing. I like to just tap on my collarbone points sometimes when I'm getting these feelings come up. Okay, I'm just going to get the letter, I'm going to pick it up, put it on the table. Next step, okay, I'm just going to sit next to the letter and look at it whilst it's on the table. Simple, right? I know it sounds really silly, but you know, trust me, I know how this feels. I know how difficult it is. So you're just going to sit next to the letter on the table and you maybe just look at it, let your eyes glance at it now and again. You might sort of pick it up, you might just observe it, you might look at your name written on it, you might pick it over, look at the back of it, and then you come away for a while and you go off and do something else, okay? Next step, you might want to think, okay, I'm going to sit next to it and I'm going to pick it up properly this time. I'm going to have a really good look at it. So you might want to bring it a little bit closer to your face and your body, turn it over, read things again, put it back down again, go off. Until you get to the stage where finally you feel able to open the letter and deal with it accordingly. Now, you probably know from past experience, right, that 95% of the time that letter is absolutely fine, yeah? We have these worries and these anxieties which are really future-based, and we imagine all these scenarios and outcomes, and most of the time things work out okay. So actually that worry and anxiety was a complete waste of our energy. And I know how that feels. So, once you open it, most likely it's going to be fine, okay? So then you can file it away and be really, really proud of yourself and give yourself like a virtual woohoo, high five, go me. But if it is in the 5% and it is a little error or a little mistake, or they need more information or whatever it is, that's okay too. But we're going to use the same approach as we used before. And this is where mental rehearsal or visualization can come in really, really handy. So first of all, you need to decide on what action you need to take. So they might have actually said in the letter, please can you call us on 0800 blah, 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 blah. Or they might have said, please can you send us XYZ. Or they might have said, please can you email us at blah, blah, blah. So decide on the action, okay? And then you are going to imagine yourself taking that action. So you're not going to do anything yet, but you're going to mentally rehearse, you're going to visualize yourself doing that thing. Now, I know that for me, phone calls are like, oh my God, who wants to talk on the phone these days? I absolutely hate using the phone. I'd much rather email. So for me, I would need to do a lot of mental rehearsal about, you know, using the phone, picking up the phone. So actually seeing yourself sat down with your phone, see yourself typing out the number, see yourself being calm, see yourself taking some calming breaths, see yourself being prepared with a pen and a piece of paper, see yourself feeling calm in your body, see yourself making this call and it being okay. And you might want to mentally rehearse this a few times over the day before you feel able to do it. And you might want to bring in somebody to support you or to help you with it, to just sit next to you, to take over if you suddenly do freak out. And that is okay too. But it's all about starting really, really small when it comes to the money stuff. Literally breaking things down into really, really small chunks as much as you can. And that includes things like goals as well. And I know that in business, we are encouraged to have, you know, these big goals, and you probably heard people talking about their 6-figure months and their, you know, 50k months and that kind of thing. And that's all well and good and amazing. But when you have money trauma, those kinds of figures can firstly freak you out, secondly make you feel like there's no way I'm ever going to get there, and third, like, what would I do if I had that kind of money? Like, how would I actually sit with that? Would that really genuinely feel okay? If I had 50k in the bank now, or 100k, or whatever it might be, if I had that money in the bank now, how would that feel for me? Would I want to hold it there? Would I feel safe? Would I want to spend it? Would I want to just get rid of it somehow? Have I got the nervous system capacity to have that amount of money? And that's why you need to really start small with those business money goals as well. And, you know, whatever level you're at, that's absolutely fine. But keep it manageable so that you can see the wood for the trees, and so that it doesn't seem like it's a massive, massive stretch for you, because it's all about this safety and security. So that is the 7 little steps. I hope you found them useful. So just to recap then, step 1 is being willing and open. Willingness is an amazing vibration to be in. And if you're here watching this, then I'm really proud of you, because it's showing me that you are willing. The second one is talk to somebody that you trust, and that might be a friend or a family member, making sure that they've got the space to hold for you around this topic. 3 is look for community support as well. So things like Facebook groups, LinkedIn groups, specialising in perhaps trauma. There's lots of groups about money as well that you might want to join. Just be mindful of some of those money groups though, because sometimes they can be filled with jargon, and you know, we can know the practical stuff, but until we change the way that we feel about money, things aren't really going to change. So just be mindful of that. There might even be in-person groups and things that you can do as well. And it doesn't necessarily have to be around the money and the trauma. It might just be a social group, or an exercise group where you just have that sense of community. Like I truly believe we're all connected, and when you actually meet people and you see the whites of their eyes and, you know, talk heart to heart, that can be really, really impactful and very, very healing in itself. So 3, find community support. 4, consider what kind of healing you might like to do. So that could be, like I said, seeing your GP. It might be finding a therapist or counsellor or other healing modality, or you might go down that self-healing route. 5, hire a coach to help you to really move forward and set those gentle goals. Somebody to cheerlead you, someone to motivate you, someone to encourage you. You know, you have everything within you. Like, you have all the answers, you have everything you need. And good coaches don't tell you what to do, they encourage you, they ask the right questions to help you to have that autonomy of where you're going, of your decision making and of your future progress. So it's all already within you. Number 6 is to really love and care for yourself properly, like truly, madly, deeply, as if you were your own best friend. Really, really love and care for yourself. And 7, of course, was that start really small. So to end, I just want to ask you, like, what would help you in terms of healing that I can do for you. Obviously, I do offer one-to-one work, and there's links in the comments if you wanted to work one-to-one with me. But if you haven't got access or resources for that, then how else can I help you? You know, I can create meditations. I love creating tapping videos. I'm really well versed in money trauma. So if you have any specific money trauma that comes up for you, please do let me know, and I'll do my very best to create tools and resources that are going to best help you. So thanks again for tuning in to part 2 of what is money trauma, and I really hope that this helped you today. Do let me know in the comments.